You know, we all have them, that book that sits on the shelf collecting dust. Every time I'd go to pick up a new book, of course I went for something shiny, not Stormfront. But one fateful day I cleaned off the dust and decided I'd try it. And I hated Harry Dresden. Okay, maybe hate is a strong word, but if you watched my first impressions video, you'll know that I thought that Harry Dresden was unlikable and depressing. However, the mystery presented pulled me in enough to give Stormfront a deeper look. So the question is, did it surpass my initial impressions, or did it get a big fat DNF? Stormfront, and I'm assuming the rest of the Dresden Files series, is an urban fantasy that takes place in Chicago. So we're dealing with crime and mob bosses, and it has sort of a film noir type of feel, but not intensely. A lot of the fantasy elements that appear in Stormfront aren't very fleshed out. For example, with magic, we don't get a ton of rules of how the magic works. However, we do get a few that are necessary for us to understand what's going on in the book. One example is that it's explained to us that technology doesn't really work around wizards or around magic. Often that causes for some good dramatic tension, like phones going out while he's trying to talk to somebody. So even though we don't get a ton of rules, personally, I feel like it was done well so that it doesn't just feel like hand wavy all of a sudden the book's over because magic. My favorite scene in the book actually revolved around potion making. In a lot of other stories, and I guess the big one I'm thinking about is Harry Potter, it's like almost like a mathematical equation or a scientific study where you have to crush a specific amount of mandrake roots in a specific way and get the juice out right and put it in, and it has to be done at a certain time or else the whole potion turns into just trash. I really liked how when Harry Dresden goes to make a potion, he and this spirit friend of his get together, and the potion making experience was very different. So instead of having a recipe that has to be done perfectly, Harry and his spirit friend get together and they think, okay, what's our result? And they use that information to help curate kind of an experience around this potion. So an example I could give is, let's say you are going to make a love potion and you want this person to have a really great date with you and have lots of fun. And so you think, okay, if one of my outcomes is fun, I need to put something in here that represents fun. And so, I don't know, sprinkles. And you throw sprinkles in the potion. It was a little bit more intuitive and a little bit more up to interpretation, which I really enjoyed and really inspired me creatively. Let's get to characters, because this is what is going to make or break this book for me. Harry Dresden is kind of jaded. However, that kind of depressing tone seemed to disappear rather quickly. It does come back here and there, but it's not so prevalent as I felt it was in the first chapter. I think something else really going for it is that as the story is progressing, you're getting these tiny details that kind of show that Harry Dresden has reasons to be jaded and reasons to feel negative about lots of things. And he also has a good balance between positive and negative. He's not negative about everything, but at least as the story's going, you're understanding why he's being negative about certain things. One thing that I really liked about Harry Dresden was that even though he might pretend like he doesn't care about something like a person or their problem, he does genuinely want to help. Some of it is curiosity to uncover this mystery. However, he put his life on the line, is willing to face the dark side of things, and put kind of his own fate in jeopardy to deal with the dangers that he saw within this mystery. And if you can't tell, I finished the book and I really enjoyed it. I'm seriously looking forward to the next book. However, I have heard that it's not as good, but from there they get better. I'm crossing my fingers though, because I liked this one and I want to like the rest. The plot of Stormfront was really well contained within this novel, and even though there are still some questions unanswered, we don't know everything about everything, the story itself is very well maintained inside of Stormfront. So making predictions is going to be kind of hard because I don't have a ton to go off of. Stuff was wrapped up really well, and I'm just kind of straight up guessing. There will be spoilers for Stormfront in this section, but That's not a good reason to click off this video. I'm just kidding, you can do whatever you want. There's a funny scene where a reporter accidentally takes a love potion and just goes crazy over Dresden. I'm guessing that this reporter is going to come back into the story in the next book and develop real feelings for Harry Dresden. Next up, Harry Dresden has some obvious family issues that we've heard a small bit about, but we don't really have them fleshed out for us yet. I think that those family issues are going to come into play in the next book's mystery. Dresden had a magical parole officer in this book, and I think that that character is going to become a reluctant partner in this next book. Dresden withheld a lot of information from the police in this story, especially from the officer that originally asked for his help. And I think that that's going to come back to haunt him and create a mini antagonist for at least the next book. So the next book is called Full Moon, and the blurb basically screams at us that Harry Dresden's going to be dealing with werewolves. I think, though, that the werewolves are going to be a false lead, distracting us from the real murderer. Oh, and Dresden's going to get bitten and become a werewolf. I know, that's a cat, but whatever. If detective fantasy is where your heart lies, click the card for another book. I think you'll like it. And as always, thank you for joining me on my adventure through the fantasy genre. No books were harmed in the making of this film.